What's up everybody, my name is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today's Wednesday, July 8th. Now, in today's video, we have to talk about Michael Saylor because he's publicly shared on X that he is defending the block space wars between BIP 110 versus Ordinals and Runes. And believe it or not, and it's not a surprise, he's defending Ordinals and Runes because he uses the word spam, and that spam is not consuming that much block space on Bitcoin, which goes against everything the Bitcoin nuts and BIP 110 people are trying to make you believe. So I want to cover all in this video and why mind share of dog Bitcoin has actually spiked 74% in the past 24 hours based on CoinMarketCap's social insights. Also, I want to cover the second largest holder of Solana. Their behavior has been quite interesting. The data and statistics I will share with you is how much they've been buying consistently. It doesn't mimic any retail. It actually seems like it's an engine trying to accumulate as much dog as possible. Why is that? And also, we have to define what is spam. Spam is multiple things. It's arbitrary data and non-monetary data. But believe it or not, what I'm about to share with you is that spam has actually been around for about 17 years. This is nothing new. So let's cover it in this video. I don't want to waste any time. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X. Please be careful with any of the scammers down in the comments below. I'll never reach out via WhatsApp, Telegram, direct messaging, or email. So please be careful and invest safely. Guys and girls, let's get right into it. Okay, so dog right now is down around 5.31% over the past 24 hours. Now that's mainly due to Bitcoin's price. It's also down 3%. And also, why is Bitcoin down? Well, it's down because apparently President Trump said that the MOU with Iran is over. So that's why you saw that the Bitcoin price went down, and also a lot of altcoins and meme coins went down. It's not just dog. But before we begin to the juicy data, remember, we have a fundraiser going on. And guess what? We're only 5.34 million dog tokens away from meeting our goal. We've had 55 contributors, aka donors, help with this fundraiser. Now, if you can, by supporting this, you will be supporting dog research, education, and daily updates for the community for the next 2 years. As you know, I've been volunteering for the past 2 years, giving you all the alpha. But a lot of this takes a lot of energy, a lot of time on my side. So with your support, this will help propel the engine for the next 2 years. Help me reach the goal. If you want to donate to capture this 5.34 million remaining, please send it over to this dog runes address that's on my X handle, or you can find it down in the descriptions on YouTube as well. Make sure to DM me your X handle and also the donation amount that you want to donate so that I can add you up to leadership board. And yes, I do accept Solana donations, aka dog on Solana as well. Just DM me for that address and I'll send it right to you. But shout outs to Stack the Dog and also AnnBanks004 for contributing over the past 24 hours. Thank you so much. Okay, I want to talk about the second largest holder of dog on Solana. Now, what I've noticed based on on-chain metrics is that basically a majority of all of its buys, 98% of those buys are all inflows, rarely any outflows. So it's actually been accumulating massively over the past 105 days. Ever since this token has been born. They own roughly around 302 million tokens that currently at the time of this recording, they deployed roughly around 233,000 US dollars. Now, what's really interesting is the very first time that they bought dog. So the very first time that they bought dog was roughly around March 25 of 2026 this year. They bought exactly 195,000 US dollars in one purchase. That was their very first purchase. And as you can see with their initial purchase of 249 million dog tokens in March 25th of 2026, you see that they've been steadily increasing their portfolio of dog tokens, and it keeps going up. Even in early June, we saw a burst of their certain buy orders, and now they accumulate roughly around that 300 million dog tokens, right? So they are accumulating as much as possible. Now, we have to look at the buying trend, which is accelerating. So April is 3.7 million, May was 11.5 million dog tokens, June was 29.1 million dog tokens, and July was on pace to be higher. So something right now is going on with this specific wallet. Why is it trying to capture so much dog token on Solana? Why Solana? Why not the dog version on Bitcoin L1, the Rune token version? Either way, this is suspicious and actually quite interesting, and this is the type of data that I researched for you guys and girls on a daily basis. Now, let's talk about the overall consensus within op return versus Bitcoin knots. Now, as you know, op return was created by Bitcoin Core. And ever since 2024, which was when runes were born, up until today, you can see that the amount of op return outputs on a monthly basis has actually grown, which is this orange section. And then if you look over here at these blue bars right here, this is the amount of op return outputs by size, again, on the monthly time frame. And as you see, this was when runes started coming out. So runes, because they were just born, they were using op return the most. Also, there was competition within block space because you saw that when runes were born during Bitcoin's pretty much reaching new all-time highs, block space wars was going on, meaning people were paying higher fees to send or receive Bitcoin because runes were also consuming much of that network. But again, op return changed certain things by releasing the cap of bytes. So right now you can see that there's a resurgence of runes coming back in 2026. And it doesn't just stop there. We have the co-founder of Glassnode report the specific data saying, what's up with runes? He says roughly 2 in 3 Bitcoin transactions have been rune stones, which he's referring to runes, which is above 70% on many days. They're not just filling block space either. Lately, runestones or runes account for up to 25% of daily Bitcoin transaction fees on the 7-day moving average. So that's why when you're looking at this and you have analytic people like Raphael, co-founder of Glassnodes, you just can't ignore data. Data just tells you that runes are back in full force. That's why everybody's talking about it. And this is why we have to talk about spam. So spam has been classified as anything that's non-monetary, that's arbitrary data. This falls for anything that is ordinals, runes, BRC20 tokens, alkanes, or other things in the pipeline, which I'm about to share with you. So as you know, Satoshi Nakamoto embedded data within the Genesis block, the very first block of Bitcoin. And it was basically what we've talked about before, the times of January 3rd, 2009, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. This is ripped out of a newspaper embedded within the Genesis block of Bitcoin. In Satoshi's own words, Bitcoin itself is a database governed by consensus. As you can see, Satoshi Nakamoto in an open letter said, with the Bitcoin open source implementation of P2P currency, what does it say here? It says, it is a global distributed database with additions to the database by the consent of a majority. So whenever people think that Bitcoin is just a store of value and just a currency, it's not just that. It's a blockchain. It's literally a database that people can do whatever they want. Basically, the consensus around Bitcoin is determined by the people. Now, not any single individual or government or specific group of people can decide that. It has to be the overall majority of people across the world, especially miners and people running nodes. And what's really funny is that Luke Das Jr., believe it or not, so Luke Das Jr. is the person behind Bitcoin Knots and is also advocating and pushing for BIP 110. What's really interesting is that in 2011, and this is nothing new, people know about this, during his Eligas mining pool, wrote a Catholic prayer into some Coinbase messages. And these are verse per block. And then some people even reply to that, right? It leaves it open for the public to reply to. But if you think about it, he was kind of one of the pioneers behind arbitrary data or non-monetary data on Bitcoin. Isn't that surprising? But when called out about this on May 29th of 2025 by this guy named Akbar, but what's interesting is that Luke Das Jr. replied to that specific post saying, fake news. These are not inscriptions/spam. When really, I think that's actually false. So when we think about it, are the prayers monetary transactions? Of course not, they're not. Are they arbitrary data, which is freely chosen, human authored content the protocol does not require? That's yes. Do they serve the operation of the Bitcoin monetary network? Absolutely not. And under the spam equals anything non-monetary, do they qualify? By the letter, yes. When you look over the past 13 to 17 years, look at the amount of non-monetary data that predated Ordinals. So as you can see, back in 2009, we talked about how Satoshi Nakamoto embedded that Times headline within the Genesis block. But also in July of 2011, we also have Len Sossaman tribute. Then in August 2011, there's the Prayer Wars, which was Luke Das Jr. embedding data. Then something that people don't really talk about within 2013 through 2014, Adam C. also embedded images with Nelson Mandela within the Bitcoin blockchain. Then in 2015 to 2021, obituaries and memorials were embedded on the chain itself. Then Ordinals came out in 2022. But can you see that what has changed in 2022 was not an existence of non-monetary data, It was basically the volume and who is profiting from it that changed ever since then. And this is the crazy thing that I keep looking at. If you look at the timeline, okay, everything falls under the same category of data, but everything has a different verdict for each one. So with the Genesis headline from Satoshi Nakamoto, apparently, is it labeled as spam? No, but it's celebrated. What about the prayer that Luke Dash Jr. embedded within Bitcoin with Coinbase messages? It was basically not spam, and this was per the author. And then you have the Len Sesame tribute, right? Was that considered spam? No, but it was celebrated. What about the Atom C? Atom C was rarely discussed. Nobody talks about it. That's why I'm addressing it right now. But all of a sudden, Ordinals and Runes are considered spam, and they're also trying to be filtered by the BIP 110 and also the Bitcoin Knots people. This is a thing that's crazy. Why now? Why not Ordinals and Runes? Well, it's because Casey Rodamore created something that's actually efficient, that actually gives miners incentives to stick around on the Bitcoin network, because all the non-monetary transactions, since they're runes, they're actually benefiting the Bitcoin network, while monetary transactions such as Bitcoin transactions aren't contributing really much anything at all right now, just because all the ETFs with all these institutions have ripped that away. And this is why Michael Saylor defended Ordinals and Runes today. So check this out. He said today, after a decade of block space fears and non-monetary use panics, Bitcoin still has no spam problem. Fees are at 1 sat. Anyone can move any amount globally with immediate processing for around 30 cents. The free market has always solved Bitcoin's block space challenges. He is specifically addressing spam, Ordinals, and Runes not being the problem. He just said this publicly in the world. Everybody's paying attention to this. I guarantee you a whole bunch of people within the Bitcoin Knots and BIP 110 people are losing their crap about this. And by the way, they're not a big fan of Michael Saylor, which is kind of weird, by the way. So as a response to that specific post by Michael Saylor, despite the claims that inscriptions and token protocols could destroy Bitcoin, the network continues to operate as designed. Transaction fees remain market driven. Users are free to compete for block space. Low demand leads to low fees. High demand rewards miners with higher fee revenue. So that's why Dog is the flagship rune. Runes are the main attention right now within the whole censorship war. So I'm going to play this clip right now because you need to understand how Dog is the main token on Bitcoin and the flagship of Runes protocol.
At number 5, you have Dog, now Dog Bitcoin, $56.7 million market cap. Holders jumped past 74,000 right after the Runes airdrop and haven't slowed down since. This is really a bet on Bitcoin itself. Runes already eat up a big chunk of Bitcoin block space. And if demand shifts away from corporate treasury buyers and back toward actual on-chain activity, Runes are the mechanism for that. And Dog is the flagship name riding it.
So now that you've seen that video, you understand Dog is the number one play, better than any other meme coin, utility token, AI coin, whatever it is. Dog is the number one asymmetric token right now because Runes on the Bitcoin blockchain, the biggest liquidity pool out there, contributing much of the transactions on Bitcoin, contributing all those transactions to the miners. This is why Dog has more incentive to stick around for a long time for the rest of eternity that Bitcoin exists, because it benefits Bitcoin security. And it's also fun. It's bringing back people back into Bitcoin that are part of the Gen Z world, the new generation of people, not just the Bitcoin OGs or the older people in Bitcoin. Is literally garnering new eyes and renewing new interest within the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, when I'm looking at the Dog price right now, what have you noticed? Well, let's go back into trading view. When I look in terms of the 50-day moving average line, guess what happened to Dog? Dog bounced right back off of it, back down. There's a reason why powerful forces don't want Dog to be above the 50-day moving average line. But when it does happen, it's going to happen quite quickly, and it could jump really high to 80 million market cap just within a split instance. Remember, the order book depth is 2%, very little on all these different exchanges. Just a $30,000 buy sent Dog from 60 million market cap all the way to 75 million market cap. Just imagine when somebody decides to buy 100,000 or more and a domino effect continues to occur. The Dog price will only go up, and that's the most important thing you need to know. Now, before we conclude this video, remember, if you want to get more updates like this with all the research that I've done on a daily basis, which takes a lot of time and effort from my side, please support this cause. Contribute to the fundraiser. We only have 5.34 million Dog tokens. I don't care if you donate 100,000 Dog tokens, 500,000 Dog tokens, whatever it may be. Whatever you donate is going to fulfill this, and we'll continue updating you guys and girls for the next 2 years. So support this cause. Make sure to donate to this Runes address on X or in the descriptions down below on YouTube, and you can also send your dog donations on Solana. Just send me a message on X and we'll get you onto the leadership board. So let's go and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X to receive all of our alpha calls and updates regarding Dog and Moon. Till then, see you guys girls next time.